So imagine.
What's up, y'all? Hey, today I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be doing a video reaction. So, this is PBD, Patrick Bet-David. He has a podcast and he has a show. He talks about political issues and just issues of the world and whatnot. And he has a Ex-Raytheon member on one of his podcasts. And he talks about a lot of interesting things. I'm not going to speak too much. I'm going to give my analysis and breakdown of different things. But let's watch it. It's going to be a long video, so sit back, get some popcorn. If you working out, hey, work out, put your headphones in and chill, bro. Cause it's going to be a little minute, but let's get it.
You got somebody that worked at Raytheon, has access to pretty much everything, and then decides to be a whistleblower.
I started to paint this picture that everybody here is bamboozled. Nobody here has a clue what's actually going on.
What do you think was actually going on?
Directed energy weapons platforms. We've had leaders, American leaders themselves, multiple times threaten other nation states with earthquakes if they didn't get in line to manipulate. They're in a very powerful and privileged position.
When you make a claim saying Joe Biden said he's going to have that earthquake, immediately causes you to lose credibility to zero.
No, not at all. $500 billion.
$500 billion.
It's an absurd number.
So you think the idea right now to read people's thoughts, that technology exists?
Absolutely.
I feel like I played poker for the last hour, 15 minutes. You know what's the one thing a lot of people are very curious about? There's a lot of stories and theories about this place, Antarctica, South Pole. So imagine you got somebody that worked at Raytheon, has access to pretty much everything, gets assigned to go work South Pole from 2010 to
Raytheon creates weapons and different things like that for the U.S. government.
2011, and then decides to be a whistleblower to come out and say, here's what I learned. And he's a former a remote viewer. And I may say, what's a remote viewer? It's something that you're seeing all over the place tied to the CIA. Is the practice of seeking impressions about a distant or unseen subject, supposedly sending or sensing with the mind. Typically, a remote viewer is expected to give information about an object, event, person, or location that is hidden from physical view and separated at some distance. In the early 1970s, the CIA experimented with applications of remote view and intelligence gathering. Government agencies, including the Department of Defense, use remote viewers to obtain intelligence information. He came out 3 months ago, did a podcast with, I believe, Sean Ryan.
So basically, manipulation, mind control, different tactics is what remote viewing is.
Sharing some of this information as a whistleblower, and you will not find anything on him out there. If you go try to look for interviews, he's only done one, and it was 35 minutes, very short, with Sean Ryan. This has been a topic that's been coming up. I asked him to come on the podcast. He was kind enough to say yes. You know, when it comes down to Antarctica, I got a lot of questions here I want to go through. You know, your people are talking about you, what your motive is to do this. I think it's important for the audience to know this, because sometimes people will say, well, I want to come and tell my story. For $28,000, I'll tell my story. Or, hey, I want to promote my book, or I want to promote a movie, or I want to promote a documentary, or I want to promote something, or give me the link to my website, or have them come to my podcast. You're asking for nothing. You're not asking for anything in return. And to me, that gains trust from your end, because there's not a motive in it. I'm a pretty skeptical guy on why people are doing certain things to get the eyeballs that they're getting. But none of those red flags came about. Others, maybe later on, I'll ask you about it, because I want to see what you'll say about it. But having said that, appreciate you for coming out.
Thank you for having me, sir. I do appreciate the interest.
I'm very interested. So, basic question, background before going to you choosing to be a whistleblower. The only thing I can find is the 1 year with Raytheon when you went to Antarctica, South Pole, and you did what you did. Give me a little bit of prior to that. What did you do prior to working with Raytheon?
Prior to working for Raytheon, I had a company on Long Island for myself for a bit, doing plumbing and heating repairs and a lot of emergency service calls. Prior to that, I was directly employed by some of the other, I guess you'd say, larger plumbing and heating contractors in the greater Long Island area. I worked, my clientele, I would say, was a bit on the special side. I seem to have been working for the owners and operators of some of said military-industrial complex corporations.
This is pre-Raytheon.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
I had been in a fistful of facilities on Long Island that I would say were above top secret, to the point of taking extremely long elevator rides to get to the basements. One facility in particular that I'm thinking of is in Roslyn, Long Island, called the Paul Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who looks into who Dr. Paul was will find that he was big with the Manhattan Project, and so was his company. These were the types of folks that I worked for, the facilities that I worked in, and having walked the path I've walked at this point, I would just say that at the time that things are happening in my direct firsthand experience in chronological order that it appeared, everything seemed benign. But I got to a certain point in my life, post South Pole Station in Antarctica, where people started telling me, I'd share stories, and they say, you need to write a book. And I started thinking to myself, why are they saying this? And then I started to be a bit introspective, and it started to dawn on me that I had walked a way more peculiar path than I had considered up until that point. Mm-hmm. And I started to really, I guess you'd say, reframe my memories to look back at things a little bit differently. I think of like a photograph on the wall, and you might have it matted and framed to look beautiful. But if you take away the matting and the frame, you see more of the image. Mm-hmm. So I started looking backwards in my recollections and reframing those images with what I know now.
So I've spent a lot of time around mobsters and gangsters, interviewing them, having them on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you ask a mobster when they were active, hey, what do you do for a living? I own a construction business. I own a plumbing business. I own dry cleaners. I own this. When you tell me you're a plumber, you give me red flags, because to me, you take me to, it's a little bit blurry, your background on what you've done. Just fine. Maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's not. It could go the CIA route. It could be the DIA route. It could be a lot of different intelligences. It's not hard to be associated with them. But you're saying you've never been involved with CIA. You've not done anything with DIA. That's not something you've done in the past before.
I have never been directly employed by any of those companies, alphabet agencies, however you want to title them. But having looked backwards, I question the proximity that I was to them. I may have been some sort of unknown asset, is my suspicion. The type of clients that I had are not the type of people that when they get a leak under their sink, they go to the yellow pages and check for the local plumber. So I believe that I was on some sort of an approved list by whom I don't know, but I can tell you that certainly I was involved in peculiar activities 24 hours a day. There were certain clients that could call me 24 hours a day, request which vehicle I showed up in, either my labeled plumbing company van or up to and including an extremely fast street racing Camaro.
So very suspicious. They got them pulling up in different cars. In a official car, a plumbing van, and a Camaro. Weird.
Put it that way. And these clients would dictate when I met them what vehicle I showed up with, which mansion we were going to.
Are these names we would recognize?
John Tunney was one of them, owner of the Carlyle Group.
John Tunney, owner of the Carlyle Group, partners with a billionaire that we've had on the podcast before, David Rubenstein. Okay, interesting.
You're familiar with the Carlyle Group?
Of course I am, yes.
I did a lot of peculiar work for the Carlyle Group and their facilities and their personnel.
So unpack peculiar work. What does that mean?
I would say that I was set up as some sort of getaway driver. That if things went wrong, I was known to be good at that.
Getaway from what? Getaway driver from what?
Whatever he was doing in that mansion.
Did you ever see anything weird where you're like, this is kind of weird what they're working on?
I think I saw that all the time. I think so many of the things now in retrospect were extremely peculiar, but it's because of the collected experiences that I have now that I can look back and make that assessment. At the time that things happened, firsthand experience, they seemed a lot more benign. And maybe I was naive, maybe I was young, maybe that's what was being taken advantage of. But looking backwards, a lot of the facilities that I worked in, a lot of the folks' homes that I was present in, things got weird all the time. It was not rare that I would be, working at a bar sink in a billionaire's common space. And next thing I know, I would get asked by he and his friends, to sit down and engage in whatever conversation they had been involved with. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But in hindsight, that's really weird. It's not often that a bunch of billionaires ask the plumber to sit down and dialogue with them.
What's wrong with that? Maybe they just want to be personal. Maybe they want to have a conversation with you.
Nothing wrong with it at all. You're right. No prejudices, but just in the grand scheme of every other day in that role, it wasn't as common as you would think. It was an out of the ordinary experience. For the most part, in those environments, I was observably invisible.
Got it. Like I would think about it, we have somebody in my office who comes, he's doing the lights, he's doing the AC, he's doing working out stuff. He's there, I'll be on conference calls. He can hear what I'm talking about, what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So it could be as simple as that kind of a relationship they had with you, but they trusted you.
Fair enough, but it would be different if you were then to engage that tradesman, bring them into your conversation, and start asking their opinion on things.
Okay. Getaway driver, getaway from what? I mean, if you said the Camaro or the company car, right? The company truck. Mm-hmm. You kind of unpacked it a little bit, but if you don't mind going a little bit deeper, when I hear getaway, I think about getaway that we're running away from doing something illegal underground that I don't want people to know about, and I need to trust somebody that can get us to a different destination so we won't get caught. Am I reading it correctly?
Absolutely.
So what do we get? Who are we getting away from?
I guess, again, whoever the mansion was that we arrived at, basically I would get a call 24 hours a day. Yeah. Mr. Tunney could contact me. I would ask him which vehicle he wanted me to pick him up in. And then when I would pick him up, he would then give me an address to go to.
Bro, is that not suspicious? What vehicle do you want me to... What vehicle do you want me to pick you up in? That's red flags right there. Like, huh? Okay.
I would wait outside. He would do whatever his business was in the interior. I wish I could tell you. I know there were a couple of times that I did enter with him, but I can't recall them that well, to be honest.
Okay.
And that was a rarity. He almost never asked me to enter. It was always wait outside.
Okay. So let's talk about remote viewing. Okay. To the average person, we see a remote viewing. It's kind of weird. It's tough to explain. It's technical, right? What remote viewing is. But if you don't mind, to the average audience, what is remote viewing?
Remote viewing, people just need to understand, is a skill set, first and foremost, that everybody possesses, similar to the ability to play a guitar. There's nothing keeping you from playing a guitar other than your own desire and level of practice to, prove proficiency. Anybody can do remote viewing. Nothing's stopping anyone from doing it, other than a massive amount of folks saying that, it can't be done. But the facts of the matter, remote viewing, to put in its simplest definition, is one's ability to get the right answer without any scientific basis on how they got it. It's outside of what our understanding of abilities are, but it works. It's been proven time and time again that it is very effective. It's very accurate, and it's very learnable.
Is it used by illusionists?
It's used by all sorts of folks. It could be used by illusionists for sure. There is some semblance of a two-way street to working on this energy level. So part of what I'm discussing today and the ability to put thoughts in people's head contemporarily by an abuse of technology was in antiquity an abuse of technique. So adepts of old would have the ability to enter this space and have a thought go into your head. Now there's technologies that do that, and we can put this in the spectrum of, let's say the energies that remote viewers work in.
Okay, so brainwashing is not a new thing.
Not at all.
Brainwashing has been around for a while. So if you look at the process of brainwashing, you'll hear somebody talk about isolation, monopolization, debilitation, exhaustion, drugs, torture. enforcement of routine, hypnosis, repetition, gaslighting. If I keep repeating it to you, affirmations, there's a lot of, effectiveness in repetitive, getting somebody to think positive or negative or weak
Isolation.
So imagine you got somebody that
I messed up. I gotta go back.
Present in, things got weird all the time.
I gotta go back.
Which are these Korean War era.
you're thinking their motives are negative.
The understanding, which are these, had 2 children to feed and was
Shoot.
semblance of a two-way street to working on this energy level. So part of what I'm discussing today and the ability to put thoughts in people's head contemporarily by an abusive technology was in antiquity an abusive technique. So adepts of old would have the ability to enter this space and have a thought go into your head. Now there's technologies that do that, and we can put this in the spectrum of, let's say the energies that remote viewers work in.
Okay, so brainwashing is not a new thing.
Not at all.
Brainwashing has been around for a while. So if you look at the process of brainwashing, you'll hear somebody talk about isolation, monopolization, debilitation, exhaustion, drugs, torture, enforcement of routine, hypnosis, repetition, gaslighting. If I keep repeating it to you, affirmations, there's a lot of, effectiveness in repetitive, getting somebody to think positive or negative or
Isolation. So if they isolate you, they could get you to speak on certain things, get you to do certain things. They can brainwash you, basically. Repetition. If they get you to think something over and over and over and over and over again, then eventually you'll think it. Gaslighting. You see something happen and no, that didn't happen. They say that enough. The people around you say that enough. You'll start to believe it. Oh, I'm tripping. They're gaslighting you. They're making you not believe what you just saw. Another form of manipulation. Another form of brainwashing. He said, isolation, manipulation, desolation, a lot of elations. So he said, I didn't know everything. Let me see.
weak, or you can't do this, or you need the government. Many ways you can do this. It's been going on for a long time, whether it's Operation Mockingbird you're talking about, other things. But for you, when you remote viewer, you get hired as a plumber to go to Raytheon, then they upgrade you to firefight. You have access to pretty much everything while you're there in Antarctica. For the average person that, when you think about Antarctica, this is kind of where I go to. Fun facts and strange facts about Antarctica, okay? It's a desert, driest continent on the planet. Very few people live there, 140 permanent residents. It was discovered recently in 1820 by Russian expedition. No country owns it. It wasn't named until 1890s. Mostly ice, 90%. Holds most of the world's fresh water, 60 to 90%. It used to be as warm as Melbourne years ago, 40, 50 million years ago. 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now it's 128 degrees, minus 120 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. No time zone. The only way you can go is north. Has active volcanoes. Subglacial lake that flows blood red. Diamond dust floats. Even back in the days, Hitler was fascinated by Antarctica, where he had a passion for the occult, and when he was searching for something in Antarctica, the Nazi Germany's built a station in Antarctica.
Hello? Yes, sir. This is him. Can you hear me? Yes, sir. This is him. Yes, sir. Yes, I am in Fort Worth, and I filled out the application a couple of days ago, but circumstances have changed, and I'm not going to be able to work there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Alrighty. I think I did the right thing. Okay.
However, was abandoned some 70-something years ago. So they offer you a job to go to Antarctica. One, how did they find you? What were they asking you to do? What was your job description, and what did you find when you went there?
I found them because the economy...
You found them?
I found them. The economy had tanked so poorly that my business was not doing well, and I was reaching out to find out what was going on.
You were living in New York at the time?
I was living on Long Island at the time, correct. They were literally the only person on the planet that would cut me a check at that point.
Why is that?
Just the economy.
Okay.
I was putting out applications and getting no response.
This is post 2008, 2009. Market
Yes,
tanks
sir.
38%.
Yes, sir.
Tough times. Economy's bad. Got it.
Correct. I had 2 children to feed and was going to take any contract from anyone that was going to cut me a check. I absolutely did not want to go to the South Pole Station. I did not want to spend a winter there. I did not believe you could have functioning plumbing. As a plumbing and heating specialist, I thought this was all like a joke. I couldn't believe what was going on, but I was going to go take the check. I had no fondness for Raytheon. I did a short stint after high school in the United States Submarine Service. I learned what Raytheon is really about, which is killing people. They love making weapons. I mean, that's their bread and butter. So I was pensive about being employed directly by them, and I went regardless. I kept my eyes and ears open. I was like a sponge the entire time that I was there. I knew that they had to be lying about something if Raytheon was involved. And lo and behold, after quite a few years, I figured out, what was really going on.
So while you're taking the job, you're skeptical about them, but because you need the income, you're willing to take the job because I got to take care of my family, my 2 kids. That's kind of what your mindset is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you go there. What do you see? What was it like? Where were you living? What was your days looking like? Sleep pattern, work, climate? How did you adjust to it? Was family back in town? Kind of give us a little bit of that.
When I first showed up to Antarctica, it was the summer season, and we were staying in what are called Jamesways, which are these Korean War era tents that I was assured that the one that I was sleeping in had probably gotten more shelled than any other tent through the whole entire Korean War debacle. It was very cold. When I landed, I think it was minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And the environment, I would say, right off the bat, was obviously probably one of the most compartmentalized facilities that I had ever shown up to. And I knew it was going to be a trip trying to figure out what was really going on. The science folk there, which I've seen this in other facilities as well, they are very egocentric. It's very easy to rub the back of a scientist, say you're doing a great job, you're going to save the world, everything here is to support what you're doing. But I started noticing that every scientist was saying the same story to me. Every time I would take the key, open the door, walk into a compartment, discuss with them what they were doing in there, I kept hearing, this is the most important work at the facility. Everybody here is to support what I'm doing. I said, okay. I hear you loud and clear. And then I go to the next room and I'd hear the same thing. And I started to paint this picture in my own head that everybody here is bamboozled. Nobody here has a clue what's actually going on, but they sure believe that they're the most important thing here.
So what was actually going on? What do you think was actually going on?
Directed energy weapons platforms operating under the false pretenses of science. That's what's actually going on at the South Pole Station.
Under the false pretenses of science. A lot of stuff is pretenses. Directed energy weapons under the pretense of science. That's how they pass a lot of stuff. That's how they do a lot of stuff. Pretense. They say it's this, it's actually this.
There are technologies and weapons-grade technologies on this planet that the average citizen cannot even begin to wrap their brains around. And that's why I'm speaking out. That's my motivation, is that we, the people of this planet, are obligated to leave it better than we found it for our children. And if we have no idea the disaster that we were handed, we're not in a position to rectify the problem. So I'm trying to bring everybody's information up to reality to, I guess, match the understanding of the foe of the people. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now. It's not actually to the best interest of the average mortgage payer.
There's no question about that. It's a very weird.
Bro, it's always something like that. The pretense to save the world. Climate change. We need to do this, for a good cause. We're just creating technologies to help people. Meanwhile, they got a whole secret basement that you gotta use an elevator. Bro.
Economy today, but I want you to go again deeper. Okay, so these technologies they're working on, what they're doing, is it just purely they're making advancement and progress, like they're just innovation? You know, we're just advancing, doing more things, or is it, you know, a dark side to it where they want to control us? Because, you know, it's very easy to jump to conclusion, kind of say, man, they're trying to control us, they're trying to do this, they're trying to. Okay, great. I think there's a sect that wants to do that, but maybe they're trying to just find a way to advance. You're thinking their motives are negative. Why do you think that?
A, because they're secret.
Okay.
It's not transparent.
Because they're secret.
Yes, their motives, their actions are secret. So to me, that speaks volumes right off the bat. If transparency was involved, I'd be a lot less concerned. But when things like the Christchurch earthquakes occur, and that is secreted away, that was the South Pole Station. That was the start of the ice cube neutrino detector. The season that I was there, it went from construction to operations and maintenance. And when they first operated it, they caused 2 accidental earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. So this is weapons-grade stuff. Since that time, we've had leaders, American leaders themselves, multiple times threaten other nation states with earthquakes if they didn't get in line. Those nations didn't get in line, and then they received earthquakes. So this is stuff that's happening in real time right around us for people that are paying attention.
Nations that didn't get in line, they got earthquakes.
Turkey was one of them.
The big Turkey earthquake.
Joe Biden made a direct threat to them about sending them an earthquake. And then they got an earthquake when they didn't listen.
Joe Biden said you're going to get an earthquake.
Correct. Just recently with this whole Israel-Hamas.
It's usually not a direct threat. It's usually coded. It's usually coded, bro. It's usually they're not going to say that out their mouth, but they're going to say it in a way that Turkey understands.
Awesome debacle. I apologize. I don't watch the mass media that often, but somebody had sent me a link where I believe it was some leaders in Iran that stated that if they invaded Gaza in full force and stuff, that they would deliver a huge earthquake.
Iran would deliver a huge earthquake.
If my memory serves me correctly.
Can you look this up, Rob, to see about... So Joe Biden in a speech says you're going to get an earthquake, or...
To Turkey. And this is kind of what I'm getting at, is that we're not the only faction with this technology. Nation states are puppets for powers that are greater than that.
Is it at this point public where everybody knows that the weapon to create earthquakes is available to everybody, or no, it's still private?
It's still relatively private. To the best of my knowledge, I'm the only one discussing this.
When did Biden say he's going to give Turkey an earthquake?
I guess it would have been a couple of weeks before they got it.
And he said that in a speech, like public video camera out there where you can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd love to see that, Rob, if you can find this. Okay, so then Iran threatens for an earthquake, and you're saying as recent as like the last 2 weeks.
Yes, this was within a couple of weeks.
Okay,
just sent this to me.
So for me, a part of that, I wonder if that's real, because some events have happened before a massive, election cycle or something takes place. That was the timing of that was very weird, right? Like even the Sandy, the hurricane that hit, where Chris Christie and Barack Obama, this was October to November 2nd of 2012. Election was the 6th. And that brought the country together because they saw Chris Christie and Obama, and then boom, election is done with, he wins second term. So you're saying that these types of things can happen. Countries have access to do that as a method of a weapon. Now, what do you need to create an earthquake? How technical of a process is it?
Not that technical at all, from my understanding. The folks that I've spoken to, both inside and outside of the program, in specifics to the ice cube neutrino detector, the statement was made that because there's 5,160 of what are called DOMs, these digital optical modules embedded in the ice. Think of them simply as microtransmitters, but now working together. So it's a phased array transmitter. And they clarified that at the fault line, where earthquakes, where the faults are always in displeasure of each other almost, it doesn't take much added energy to push them over the edge. They're constantly always looking to make an earthquake at certain points on the planet. So certain points, it's actually really easy to initiate an earthquake if you have a delivery mechanism. It's
and
not
that's the ice cube neutrino?
Yes, the ice cube neutrino detector transmits.
Can I play this clip for you to
Absolutely.
get a reaction to see if this is what you're talking about?
That's a DOM right there.
Can you yeah, go ahead.
I've just hiked out to the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory. Let's head inside.
This is the biggest scientific project going on here at the South Pole, and it's basically built so we can detect high-energy particles, neutrinos, that originate from outside our solar system. This right here is what one of the optical detectors looks like. There are over 5,000 of these buried over a mile deep in the ice.
It all looks so official, so nice. It all looks just such good intentions. And this how it is in the media. It's right in our face. It looks good. It looks like there's good intentions, but there's a lot of evil being done. And this dude may not know it. He may just be a pawn in their chess game. He may not know it. Just like this Ex-Raytheon dude didn't know what he was doing. But this is the presentation. Look what we're doing. It's going to help humanity.
Right below us. So right now, I'm right outside the server room at Ice Cube.
Ah, no. I keep messing up, bro.
Bodies. There's something to
It sucks.
times the cost. Are we going to get 10 times that? Don't know that number. It was some leaders in Iran that stated that if they where the faults are always in displeasure of each other almost, it doesn't take much added energy to push them over the edge. They're constantly always looking to make an earthquake at certain points on the planet. So certain points, it's actually really easy to initiate an earthquake if you have a delivery mechanism. It's
And
not
that's the ice cube neutrino?
Yes, the ice cube neutrino detector transmits.
Can I play this clip for you to
Absolutely.
get a reaction to see if this is what you're talking about?
That's a DOM right there.
Can you yeah, go ahead.
I've just hiked out to the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory. Let's head inside.
This is the biggest scientific project going on here at the South Pole, and it's basically built so we can detect high-energy particles, neutrinos, that originate from outside our solar system. This right here is what one of the optical detectors looks like. There are over 5,000 of these buried over a mile deep in the ice right below us. So right now, I'm right outside the server room at Ice Cube Laboratory. I've got to wear an electrostatic discharge jacket to make sure I don't shock any of the components in there. So all this data comes up through these cables, through the towers on each side of Ice Cube, comes through here, gets fed into the servers. So this is the server room.
You see all those servers?
Yes.
All the data coming up from
Does anybody ask how much processing capacity that is?
How much is it?
I have no idea. It seems to be unmeasurable by most people that look at that. That was one row of servers. There's many rows of them in there. The fact that the ability to keep that place cool requires them to open a louver to the exterior temperature at the South Pole in the wintertime. That was part of my job, was to walk out to that building every day to make sure that the louvers would open so they could let the cold in from outside to keep those servers from overheating.
Because of how hot it is in there.
Now, I'm not a mathematician when it comes to these levels of BTU input, but someone can do the calculation. If it takes minus 80 degree temperatures to come into your space to offset for your temperature build, there's a lot of processing going on, a lot of computing. I'm learning a lot about quantum computing and the need to chill.
And this is not even your specialty.
This is not even my specialty, but this is observational.
So 5,000 of these. How much does one of those equipment pieces cost, you know?
I don't know that number, but I do know that the overall cost for the entire Ice Cube neutrino detector project was an absurd number from a tradesman point of view. It was something to the tune of like $500 billion.
$500 billion.
It was an absurd number, was my recollection. It was an absurd number.
And who invested into that? The U.S. government?
I would assume the National Science Foundation cut the check. I know that they work with the University of Wisconsin. What I also know is that they are making moves to take that facility and make it 10 times the size of what it is currently.
Make it 10 times what it is currently. What
in the ice.
Right.
Currently, it's the largest telescope on the planet. They're about to make it 10 times bigger. Let's presume it's 10 times the cost. Are we going to get 10 times the return on investment? What is the return on investment on something like this? Because from its primary position, it doesn't seem like it's worth the science at the cost that they're providing it. But if you were to say, no, it can deliver earthquakes on all of our enemies, no, it can input thoughts into all the people on the planet, well, that's some value-added investment at that point.
So suspicious. He's saying it's not worth the money that we're paying for it, off the pretense of what they're saying it is. It's like paying $500,000 for an ice cream. Like, why would we do that? But, oh no, this ice cream has the ability to do X, Y, and Z. Like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Out of all the places in the world, how many places have that?
None.
Is that the only place?
That's the only facility like it in the world.
Why is it only there? Why is it that Antarctica is the best place for? Like, for example, if somebody says, why is it that Napa Valley is one of the best places to create wine? Well, because the biggest plus minus of temperature, it goes very high and it's got a big drop off. Where most people, the drop is like this. Okay, that math, I get it. Why is Antarctica the ideal place to build that?
It's ducked off. How many people can go to Antarctica? It's very ducked off. Very hard to get to. Very isolated.
I believe that's a multifaceted answer, because there's for the presented reasons and then the secondary and tertiary reasons. So primary reason being a neutrino detector. The benefit is that the DOMs are embedded in the ice, which is basically crystal clear. So they get an unobstructed view of the neutrino activity. When the neutrino impacts the nucleus of a water molecule, which is the ice there, you get a reaction. One is a blue flash known as Cherenkov radiation, and then the nucleus and the neutrino are destroyed, and you have a muon ejected as the remaining particle. The blue flash, being in the ice, is why the location matters, because it's the only place you can get that much ice with that much clarity. The other consideration is that this technology, in the search for neutrinos, I'm learning from speaking with other folks that exotic propulsion engines, whether you want to call them UFOs, UAPs, off-planet, on-planet, ours, theirs, whomever, seem to eject neutrinos also. So the southern pole of this planet, and what we've learned from other off-world activities, be it lunar or other celestial bodies, there's something to be said for the ease of entering and exiting the magnetosphere of any celestial body from the southern pole. So it's my belief that the location has also to do with it being utilized as like an air traffic control center for these more exotic propelled vehicles.
What is the conditions there, since the Antarctica is not owned by a single country, right? And anybody can be there. What are some interested countries that have presence right now in Antarctica, especially when you were there in 2010, 2011?
Obviously, all of the signers of the Antarctic Treaty seem to be in cahoots somehow. I think that it's kind of a pay-to-play situation, that if you want to get into the treaty, then that'll get you involved. But I think that we're going to start to see things transition, because the Antarctic Treaty is about to expire. And I think this is going to be a very interesting time, because when you say that, people don't own it, it's true. But people are also not following the treaty insofar as inspecting other people's facilities. So it's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell situation. Everybody seems to be up to no good, but nobody wants to discuss it. I worked with a gentleman up on the North Slope of Alaska. Mm-hmm. He was a cook, and he had told me that he was also at one point hired by Raytheon Polar Services to go on what's called a CAT train, which is short for Caterpillar vehicles, track vehicles. They pull all their gear with them and meander about the continent under the pretense of science. He told me they had him sign an NDA. He told me he didn't give a damn what are they going to do to him. And he told me how what they were actually doing was looking to place missile silos. They were surveying to place missile silos, which are completely against the Antarctic Treaty. The whole continent's just a weaponized facility for every nation, but nobody's adhering to the treaty. Every nation agrees, well, you can come check our facility if you want. We can come check your facility if you want.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing that.
You know what this makes me think about? So let's just say you're getting a hair transplant, okay? And Turkey is apparently the number one place for hair transplant. The reason why I know this, because one of our clients came that we're consulting for. They run a big surgeon at a University of Munich, what they're doing. And some of the clients they're tied to is hair transplant. Turkey is a place to be. Great. So imagine you travel to Turkey and you're there for a week to get the transplant in place. And then there's 20 other people in there. Let's just say it's an expensive place. And you're like, oh shit, you were in that movie. Damn, this guy's also getting a transplant. Oh shit, you're the retired basketball player. Oh, what are you doing here, right? All these people are there. Everyone knows you're there for what? Transplant. You go see a therapist. You're at the number one therapist. He's $1,000 an hour. She's $1,000 an hour. It's for billionaires. You're sitting in the room like, damn, there's two other guys in this room here. I know these guys from Fortune. He's a CEO of that company. He's a CEO of that company. You're seeing what the other guy's doing. Word's going to leak what the motive is of being there. So if these guys are all in Antarctica and they're building technology for earthquakes that everyone has access to, isn't that kind of like a weird understanding to say, so you got the technology to give me an earthquake, I got the technology to give you an earthquake? It's kind of a weird dynamic, isn't it?
There is not one Illuminati. There is not one power at B. There is not one organization that runs the world. There are competing factions in different countries, like the CCP in China, like Russia, like America. They have different Illuminatis and different organizations with different technologies that only they know about. And it doesn't benefit any of them to expose that. It doesn't benefit any of them to tell the civilians. So what they do is they have these technologies, they do these things, and there's agreement that while we're not going to say anything, we're going to fight these secret battles, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but we're going to keep this on the hush. It doesn't benefit any of us. We all lose power. We all lose the power to manipulate, to control the population if these things are exposed. So we're not going to do that. So yeah, there's not one Illuminati. There's not one power that controls this world. There's competing factions. There's fighting for control. And it reminds me of Bohemian Grove and things like that Alex Jones exposed a long time ago. What these people do is they hold each other. They do horrendous things and they get evidence of it. Say, I get video evidence of you doing something horrendous and you get video evidence of me doing something horrendous. And you're not going to release that because I got this or you. It's a Jeffrey Epstein situation. That's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. Yeah, they all have leverage against each other. And it's tough. But hey, it's all getting exposed. It's 2024. It's all coming to the light.
But this is the dynamic that we need to start bringing the average mortgage payer into consideration thereof. It's very peculiar that there are certain factions that take turns with the trigger to such a device.
Yeah, I have a hard time with this because I just Googled right now Biden. Rob, did you find anything with Biden giving a speech on Turkey? I don't find anything either.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't find anything either because for me, so you know what it makes me think about? We've had a lot of people on the podcast that'll reach out and it'll be stories about, I used to do this. What a freaking story. We'd love to break it with you. Anyway, everybody wants to break a story, right? Everybody wants to break a story and they'll come and they'll give the story and da-da-da-da-da. And we're like, what a fascinating story. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I don't know if this guy is really is telling the truth or if he's just bullshitting his way out there and telling a story. Rogan, for example, we're talking about earlier, right? Hey, this guy's a plumber and he's talking about there's a, what do you call it? Whistleblower and you know everything that's going on in Antarctica. This guy's a bullshitter. This guy's full of it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The split between audiences that, I ask about, I have friends that are CIA, FBI. We have friends from all over the place. We've talked to a lot of different people. Say, well, sometimes cases like this is this. I think this guy's this. One guy's looking you up a little bit more. Maybe this is this. Maybe that's that. It's very easy to be skeptical about what you're saying because when you make a claim saying Joe Biden said he's going to have that earthquake and there's zero documentation online that says that, don't you kind of lose credibility when you say that?
No, not at all. It just means someone didn't find the link yet. And I could also be wrong in that capacity. But it doesn't change the things that I can document.
But that's a pretty big accusation to make that immediately causes you to lose credibility to zero.
Not in the slightest.
You don't think so?
No, not at all, sir.
So here's what I'd love to do. I would love, before I go live, I give you the opportunity. We're going to go live with this interview, but I want to give you the opportunity, since you're going to be able to find the link that Joe Biden said.
I may not be able to find the link at this point.
But then how do you make that kind of a claim to say Joe Biden?
That's not what I'm basing my experience on. That's a detail.
Brother, that's a big detail.
You know, it's a bigger detail.
What's that?
That I have documentation from the Ice Cube neutrino detector that states that it transmits. That's factual. That's right on my website in the archive section, the document that comes right out of the manufacturer's specifications.
That says what?
That says that each of the DOMs can transmit at up to 2,047 volts each. That's referenceable and real right now.
Okay, so what does that mean to the average person? What does that mean?
That they're lying, that it doesn't just receive, that it also transmits.
Okay. And which means what? Which means
that we're in trouble, that they're lying, first and foremost.
Okay.
And that people need to inquire as to what is it transmitting. I'm suggesting the stuff that I've looked into, but apparently a simple faux pas on the unavailable link brings everything into question.
Okay, can we pull that up on the website? If you tell Rob where it's at, I'd love to pull
Absolutely.
it up.
My website's deciphering.tv. In the archives section of that website, you'll see what's referred to as DOM document. And that comes straight out of the manufacturer's specifications from the University of Wisconsin that built the device.
So it's public information.
It's public information.
Why is that a big deal if it's public information?
Because it actually means that it's been there the entire time and no one looked.
Okay, so if it's been there, what's our threat if they've known that? It's the fact that they have access to, they've had access to creating earthquakes for a long time, except we've not known about it?
They might have had it before this device by some other means, but I can only attest to what I've discovered and what I've learned from the crew that I worked with.
Okay. So let's set that aside. Okay. The fact that they have, they're working on technology to be able to transmit or be able to create earthquakes in different parts, and what happened in New Zealand to those two churches where the earthquakes happened, or you're claiming the earthquakes that happened in Turkey, or even the earthquake that you're saying Iran said, they could cause. You're saying that's also public information with Iran saying they're going to create Turkey.
I did actually witness that news event with the Iranian threat, and I apologize. I believe it was the Iranian officials that said it, but I could be wrong. But I witnessed somebody saying it just the other day.
Rob, can you look that up to see if Iranian officials said earthquake about, what happened? Okay, so what other experiences did you have while you were there or post? Did you, your 1 year with Raytheon, when you did that, did you continue working with them afterwards? And if not, what did you do afterwards?
I did not continue working with them afterwards. Another item of intrigue while I was present at the South Pole Station was when I discovered that the ELF system, which is another directed energy weapons platform, was not de-energized and defunct. It was energized and functional. So these are two weapons-grade electronic systems that I discovered were operational at the South Pole Station, regardless of whatever links can be found today. So
ELF.
This is ELF, extra low frequency, used to communicate with submarines, and it itself is questionable in its other multifaceted things that people claim that type systems can do.
Okay, so let's give you credit. When it comes down to earthquake for Iran, October 10th, Iran's foreign minister warns Israel from Beirut it could suffer a huge earthquake. Iran's foreign minister...
Wait, look at that. It could. It's not all very coded. You could suffer an earthquake. It's always coded language.
has called on Israel to stop attacks on Gaza, warning that the war might expand on other parts of the Middle East if Hezbollah joins the battle. Can you type in if Iran has technology to cause earthquakes? Because now that is a very interesting story to see if they...
Google is a very compromised website, very compromised company. It's going to suppress the truth, and it's going to push an agenda. So when people use Google as their research tool, and that's all they use, bro, you are getting a very biased, very establishment point of view on things. Like, it takes, they'll give you a little hint of something, but it takes a lot of research in different parts, in different companies that they're suppressing to get to the bottom of things. Google is compromised. Do not trust it. And they're going to push their BS. They're going to put their BS at the top of the search results.
Can do something like that. How long have we had the technology to cause earthquakes?
I wish I knew the answer to that, but what it appears is that by the time the civilian population becomes aware of an existing technology, the military-industrial complex has typically been using it for no less than 40 years.
Oh, wow. Think about that. So by the time that we get it, they've been had it. It's old news to them. And you know what's crazy? They put these technologies in different movies, in different things like that. It's called predictive programming. What they do is they show you it to ease you into it, to like, oh, I've seen that before. Then they give you the next technology. Oh, I've seen that before. Little did we know they've been having something far more crazier 30 years ago.
Military-industrial complex has been using it for no less than 40 years.
That seems to be the standard.
Raytheon, Boeing, you're talking about all the other guys, General Dynamics, they've been using it for less than 40 years, at least 40 years.
It seems to be the case.
Okay, so how much deeper have you gone on this? Or are you somebody that's just coming out and saying, here's what's going on, rest of the world, go search it? Or no, here's what's going on, I talked about it, here's what I know about it, this is who's behind it, this is how they're doing it, these are the events that took place. What other information do you have that would be good for the rest of the world to know?
To answer your question, I think I'm in both positions. I'm challenging people to do the same research that I'm doing, because the more I look into it, the more I'm finding. What I'm suggesting people do now, rapidly, is start paying attention to the people in proximity around you, start learning what the symptoms are of individuals being negatively impacted by directed energy weapons systems, because this is all referenceable. It doesn't take me to let you know that your family's friends and neighbors are being negatively impacted. You can check out for yourself.
Okay, that's good. Well, we will do that. But since you're here and this is kind of like what you've been a part of, what else do you know that we would benefit from knowing?
Know thyself. One of the biggest things with this technology is what I call invasive thoughts. So what we're about to see commercially, you're in the business savvy world, the general population is about to get sent out for sale what is called bone conducting technology, right? Headphones that go in your ear but don't radiate the sound through the atmosphere. Instead, they direct them immediately to your inner ear, and they cause a reaction with the bones in there, which is effectively transporting a voice into your head.
Bro, you know what's crazy? When I first seen this video, probably about a couple months ago, I heard him say that. And not too long after I seen that video, I seen a bone conducting earpod, or whatever. I was like, okay. And just like I was speaking on earlier, what they do is they push out these technologies. They just slowly introduce you to these things. Here's this, here's that, here's that. And by the time they show you what they really have, they're 30, 40 years in the future, bro. If we knew what they actually had, we would be terrified. And it's crazy that they have the technology. They said effectively, this is something that places thoughts into your brain. It places electrical thoughts into your brain. Whoa. Who would have thought?
This is the technology that I'm talking about. What they're going to confuse people on is to make them think that this transducer, this technology, needs to be on your head for it to work. Well, the reality is that we've shown that these transducers and these technologies that are patented and existing for decades can accomplish the same bone conducting transmission at much greater distance, which is the definition of putting a voice in someone's head. The military called this voice-to-skull technology, and it's been being utilized by them since the 1960s.
I wonder where they got that idea from. Demons. They've been doing that forever. Placing thoughts into your head. These are fallen technologies. They're not just thinking of these. They're not getting these out of nowhere. These are fallen technologies they're getting from demonic powers, from principalities. They have the ability to place thoughts into our brain. And just like I was telling you in my first video about I was going to sleep, I was hearing Take K the Race in my head over and over and over. Every time I woke up, I heard that song. And it was weird because I haven't listened to that music in years. It's been about, 5? So I'm like, bro, why am I waking up with this song on repeat? That's a problem, bro. These are demonic lyrics. Why is this replaying in my head, bro? And not too long after that, I go to YouTube, and guess what's in my recommended? Take K the Race. Recommended next to videos that ain't got nothing to do with it. Next to Nirvana. How to clean your room with a new vacuum. It was ridiculous. The videos that it was recommended next to. You can't tell me that was not an attack from the enemy. Our government, demonic powers, they have the ability to place thoughts into our head. They have the ability to manipulate us like that. And if we're not aware of this, it will destroy us. It will kill us. And yes, I'm upset. Yes, I'm mad. Because most people don't know this. And it's hurting a lot of us, bro. You having thoughts. It's not even yours. Bro, and you thinking, who am I? I'm just Joe Smo. They know you, Joe Smo. They know you. Not because of you, but what's inside of you. They see what's inside of you. They see what you have before you even see it. Before you know you have it. In the name of Jesus, I rebuke any and every all foul spirits, all evil spirits in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. We are fighting a war. We are in a war. This is spiritual warfare. We're not fighting them. We're not fighting no Illuminati, no powers that be. We're fighting the spirits that's controlling them. So, in review, they have technologies that can send you thoughts just like these demons can from anywhere in the world. And they're using that daily.
Yeah, and Daily Mail did an article on this. Rob, if you can pull this up, see if you're talking about the same thing. Companies will be able to take over your dreams with commercials. I think McDonald's is doing this. You talked about that with Sean Ryan. Mm-hmm. So pumping commercials into your mind while you're sleeping, is that kind of what you're talking about?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, it's almost like we've seen that before. It's almost like we've seen that before in Futurama, where Fry went to sleep and he's having dreams of Slurp, of all those companies, and he wakes up and want to buy it. It's almost like we've seen that on TV. It's almost like it's predictive programming, like they showing us what they've been doing. Interesting.
It's in the same ballpark for sure. Whether it's a commercial as a voice, so to say, or me as a voice, but either way, the technology is the same. It's to remotely input information into someone's head.
I mean, for me, okay, let's just say that is going to be out there, or it's out there already. Mm-hmm. Companies for profit, I almost don't mind it if you want to just do it for profit. Let's just say McDonald's wants me to buy a Big Mac. Last time I had a Big Mac was September of 1999. When I got out of the Army, I threw up. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I used to love Big Macs. Fine, if they're going to do it for profit. They're already doing it anyways. You know, hey, Happy, the brand this. Hey, this, the brand this. I need to own an iPhone. We're already spending a bunch of money with different programming that we've been going through, right? What I'm concerned about is programming coming from a government or an organization that wants to control us, mm-hmm. and that wants the populace to buy into ideas that make zero sense. Mm. What's been happening the last 3 years?
Like the whole planet all decided to wear masks at once?
Yeah, yesterday
I wonder if that could have been applied through technology that I'm discussing.
So did it, though?
I would say yes. I would say I observed it.
Yeah.
That the technology that I'm laying at everybody's feet, I would say that supports what I'm saying. I don't think that the whole planet woke up one day and shared the same thought on a mask, because they don't wake up on any day and share a thought on anything.
How do they do it?
Through the application, what you just said earlier, through repetition, through exhaustion, through finances, putting people. They have this all dialed in.
This has been going on for years, so I'm not.
Oh, understood.
Yeah, this has been going on.
But this is just an added layer.
Okay, but the part I'm curious about, is there anything that they're using that's a technology form outside of just constant repetitive commercials, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, hey, mask.
I'm surprised that Pat is not concerned with them being able to invade your consciousness. He said, I'm almost okay with them doing that. How? Really, Pat? You okay with them placing ads inside your dream, bro? They can place demonic ads to get you to do things that you don't want to do against your will? Invading your mind? That's okay to you? How, bro? Hey, man, say, man.
I'm like, I gotta wear mask. COVID. You're gonna die. Death, death chart. Man, people are dying left and right.
Yeah.
Cases. And then everybody starts panicking, and we panic. They can be controlled. That's nothing new.
Understood.
That's nothing new. I lived in Iran 10 years. We had 2 channels. I saw Matic bad, Omrica, Matic bad, Omrica, death upon America. You hated America, right? It's a terrible country. You're seeing videos right now of what they're brainwashing. Every country brainwashes their populace. They have to do it. This country is this, Russia's the best, or Iran's the best, or US is the best, whatever it is. That's a method that's happening.
What does a country want? Control, power. They want the ability to control us. So of course they're going to give us information that would help them in that endeavor. They're going to feed us things to keep us docile, to keep us easily controlled. Because if we all became skeptical of what they're doing, we'll realize they're doing some demonic and evil things, and there will be a war. We will overthrow them. I mean, how many times have we seen that in the history of the world? The people overthrowing the government because they were doing some demonic stuff, like taxing them too much and using that money for some stupid stuff. That happens a lot. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
You working at Raytheon, the 1 year, Antarctica, you picked up what you picked up. Outside of the things that we've talked about so far, anything else that maybe you came across that seemed a little bit fishy, minus what we've talked about so far with mind control and earthquakes?
The air traffic control stuff, I think, is important to consider. And I think to double down on the mind control, because when you're saying that brainwashing has been around for a while, well, that's a very fair statement. But to gloss over the idea of having that voice put personally into your head, I don't think you're really understanding the weight of that dilemma. It would be like if that repetition, now if I could take an idea and have it repeat in your head in your voice. It's one of the most powerful things out there that people have not really truly considered. If I wanted to manipulate you, right? On any given day, when a fork in the road presents itself to you, you can sit there and you go, Pat, should I do this? Pat, should I do that? And it's almost like a conference call happens in your head amongst yourselves. Do I go left? Do I go right?
But somebody else can listen in to that conversation.
And have input. Now, what if I could, in your voice, say, Pat, you better make a right. You know it's the right thing.
You think that technology exists?
I know that technology exists. This is what I'm trying to impart upon you.
The technology for me to be in the middle of a big decision that I got to make. So my name is Putin. I'm in the middle of a decision to say I'm sick and tired of NATO coming closer to the east. They keep talking. They don't want to do anything. In July, June of this year, NATO said, hey, let's accelerate the process of getting Ukraine to be part of NATO. Once you do that, if I attack them, Article 5, NATO needs to attack Russia. It's a job responsibility that they have. I know what they're doing. Should I press the button or not? These people that have access to the power could put the thought in Putin's head to say, press the button right now.
All day
Your
long.
legacy's on it. Gorbachev wants it.
All day long, people have this power. Many factions have this technology.
And I admit, it is hard.
Doesn't mean he's gonna.
I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it myself.
Listen. Just like when we have brainwashing on television, it's repetition, it's an effort. Doesn't mean they're gonna do it. It's not direct muscle control, but this is why I call it an invasive thought. It's pretty powerful once you consider it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see outside of the typical way that we know, would you need tools for me to be carrying for you to be able to do that? Or I don't need to have anything on me for you to do that? For example, let me explain what I'm asking. Okay. I have a phone. This thing's got a camera on it. This thing's got a mic on it. Is there a possibility that Apple is listening to our conversation right now? Sure, of course, there's a possibility. Is there a possibility that when I go to the bathroom, or Or if I go take this thing in the shower and I put it like this camera, maybe somebody caught me on camera while I'm getting into the shower. Sure, there's a possibility. Okay, fine. Is there a possibility that that could be reported to the CIA, to the DIA, to a secret intelligence agency that maybe Apple has a contract that we're not aware of? Sure. Could there be a possibility that when these things were designed in China, and China put a technology in there that's so small, that's so minute, that even Apple people cannot see to inspect the product that they're producing, that China now is getting all the intel from us because China is we sell more iPhones to China than any other country in the world. I think iPhone has 24% of market share in China. US is 56%, but they have it in China. So if they make it in China, maybe China put something in here for us to listen to that. Okay, great. Tracking. Can somebody tell if I'm on the 405 freeway in LA next week at 4 o'clock in the afternoon if I have my iPhone with me? Sure. All of that stuff, as weird as it sounds, it's believable. But say I don't have anything on me, not my phone, not my watch, not a ring, not anything that somebody can tie to it, nothing, okay? How can somebody put a thought in my head without me having something on me? How do you do that?
You are a series of your own thoughts and electrical impulses.
Okay.
So you are a frequency. You can be scanned, you can be observed, and you can be tracked by that in and of itself by greater technologies than a simple cell phone. So similar to before, like
If you want to understand the secrets of the world, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla, one of the reason we have Wi-Fi and the electricity that we use, etc. This is occult knowledge, occult information being used for demonic purposes.
I was discussing with the bone conducting technology that they can transmit from great distance to place a frequency into you. They can just as easily track from great distance very specific frequencies. The one known as Patrick Bet David. You're the only thing putting that frequency out.
So I'm helping you be able to think what I'm thinking and what decisions I'm about to make?
That could be looked at it that way as well. Through setting an AI on you for observation, they can learn you, and then that way the manipulations in your voice can be.
And when AI comes out, it's going to be a big problem. Because the computing power that they're going to get is going to be out this world. And
extremely personalized.
You're not talking about deep fakes. You're not talking about voices. Because right now there's technology that we looked at a couple weeks ago that my own voice speaking in Russian, my own voice speaking in Farsi. That's already available. That's
what I'm saying. So you're supporting what I'm saying when you discuss that these technologies are around.
There's a big difference between that and me being able to be a 22-year-old guy who's in love with a girl, who's a girl everybody wants to be with, and you know the whole, what do you call it, Americans, the Cupid, is that what it's called? The Cupid hits and then boom, she falls in love with you. Okay, for me to sit there and have the access to this technology and say, the guy in the red shirt to the right, sitting at the bar, is the guy you have to marry, and he's the love of your life, and God put him in your life. That's your guy. You're going to have 4 kids with that guy, and one of them is going to be a president. Go approach him. Everything you do is to be with this man. You mean to tell me I can put a thought, the technology is out there for me to get a girl to be thinking about something like that?
And I'm sure that's been done. Very sure.
You can apply the thought, but you can't guarantee the outcome.
That she'll flip and decide to come to me and talk to me?
Right. But imagine if you could keep repeating this information. Just like any other any other technique or technology.
But this is not a technology. This is what you're talking about. Remote viewing is what you're talking about.
These are 2 different things. Remote viewing is a technique.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the technology I'm discussing.
What do you need to build this technology? What do you need to build this technology? What components do you need to combine to build this technology? For example,
remote viewing is the strategy to get you to think about it over and over again. Possibly drugs to drug you, to get you to think about or get you to do certain things to manipulate you. And the technology he's talking about is the ability to place thoughts, ideas inside of someone's head. So they're different things. And they use this technology to do remote viewing for repetition, gaslighting, etc.
We're talking about microchips the other day, semiconductor chips, okay? And why so many people are fascinated by Ukraine. Well, you know, there's different levels to microchips, semiconductor chips you make. China is one of the competitors that makes semiconductor chips. There's one problem. They make the chips that are the easiest to make. So it's like they make the shittiest chips that people sell for 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents. They don't make the real expensive chips. Okay, so now if you go to the countries that make the most expensive chips, I want to say Netherlands or one of those places that makes the most expensive chips, and there's just one piece that you need, neon. And what country produces a lot of neon? It's Ukraine that produces a lot of neon, okay? So I need a little bit of neon, I need a little bit of this, I need a little bit of this to be able to build all the best microchips out there. And to be able to do that, I need access to this. What technology combined together allows me to be able to inject a thought in your mind when you're about to make a decision?
I would imagine it just has to do with, like I said earlier, the bone conducting technology, which is apparently about to become as cheap and accessible as anybody who wants to buy a set of ear pods.
There's no, okay.
Your mind blown, bro. Can't believe it, and I don't blame him. That's hard to fathom. It's hard to think about. So all I need is bones for them to use this technology against me from anywhere in the world, probably outer space too. Yes, it is deep.
Okay. So you think the idea right now to read people's thoughts, that technology exists?
Yes.
Absolutely.
To read people's thoughts.
Absolutely. You're currently right now just having a series of electromagnetic impulses fire in your head. That's absolutely readable and at distance.
And at distance.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So somebody can think right now what I'm thinking about, good, bad, ugly.
They could read every single thing that's going on in your head.
And they can put a thought in my mind to help me influence a decision I'm about to make.
They could sick a team of AI computers on you to access every thought that you're considering through, just like we can consider all these social platforms. People are constantly putting their information in there.
So
that's impossible, bro. You can't do that. You can't read minds, bro. That's sci-fi. That's conspiracy. Impossible.
starts to paint a picture of who you are and where your head is at.
So is this kind of you going to the Havana Syndrome side? Is that
Absolutely.
kind of okay? So the Havana Syndrome was what, when military government personnel that are close to it, they kept having these headaches. They felt like somebody was doing something to them.
A whole litany of things.
Yeah.
One of the things that they glaze over, the Department of Defense put out information to their personnel because this is their responsibility to them. They discuss on the list of Havana Syndrome symptoms that these people are reporting weird noises. Well, that's a really cool way of saying
cricket noises.
voices. They're not being as direct and transparent as they should be. But what these people are reporting is that they're hearing voices. That's the weird sounds. It's very legit. It's very real. The technology's there. We're about to get it from Sony, Panasonic, and then people are going to mount it in their ears. But this is the technology. It's real.
Under
The technology is
guise of something else. Under the guise of something else.
They become mainstream where you can impose your thoughts on me without even talking to each other. You can.
They're not going to tell you that part, but they're going to give you voice-to-skull technology under the veil of something else. Just like we get all kinds of technology under the veil of something. You called this a phone earlier. I'd call it a weapon. It's weaponized technology that was rolled out under false pretenses.
I keep hearing that word, false pretenses. He keeps saying it. And there is a lot of BS going on with these cellular devices, bro. These newer phones have technologies in it that I throw in my hands and I don't know. I don't know what's inside of it. It could be doing X, Y, and Z. Be very skeptical. Be very suspicious of these newer technologies. And honestly, expect that something is going on. And because most likely it is. And I'm not stupid. I'm not slow. The average person may see me, may see this YouTube channel, be like, bro, he got 250 subscribers. He's a very small dude. Like, who is he impacting? I know that their eyes are on me because their eyes have been on me since 2018. I know that they're watching this. I know that they're hearing this. I know that they're looking at my texts. I know that they're listening to my calls. Not because of where I am right now, but where I can be, what I can do, what's in me, the power to influence, the power to speak. They see that and they're scared. And that might be the same with you. You might think, I'm not doing nothing. I'm just doing this, doing that. But you have the power to influence this generation. You have the power to speak. Especially if, and you have the power to open your eyes and wake up. And especially if you're on this video, you have the power to open your eyes and wake up and see the agendas being played. They want you asleep. They want you in the Matrix. These movies, like The Matrix, are based on reality. When somebody wakes up, a team of people gets sicked on them to suppress that, to put them back asleep in the Matrix. These movies are not, what do you think they're getting these ideas from? They're not just pulling these ideas out of nowhere. They're getting these ideas from experience, from what's actually going on. And we're going to the movies and we're laughing at these things and they're laughing at us. Like we're actually doing that and they're entertained. Be very skeptical. Be very skeptical. The Truman Show? Be very skeptical. Be very skeptical.
One of the things that the phones can do now is pay attention to your biorhythms, your breath rate, your pulse rate, under the false pretenses of it being something benign and good for you. But what if I told you that every single time you looked at your phone and every single post that it can get an eye movement off of it, knows exactly what you're looking at, and now it also knows your reaction to it.
That's believable.
Absolutely.
Look,
and this is handheld technology right
totally
now.
Get that.
So they know that if something gets you excited, gets you depressed,
Totally get it.
they're already learning. They're already paying attention. So now through reading that, understanding you, and a desire to manipulate, they're in a very powerful and privileged position.
I told.
Why wouldn't they want the desire to manipulate you? Naive people think, oh, it's just they just want to help us. They want to protect us. This world is a fallen world ran by Satan. The leaders of this world want to control, dominate, and manipulate us. They want to kill, steal, and destroy us. Don't be naive in the thinking. The people who run this world have your best interest in mind. Everybody who is in a powerful position is not evil, it's not demonic, etc. They could be just ignorant on what's going on and be used as pawns to help people, to help them without them knowing. That could be the case. But don't be ignorant and naive and think that these people have your best interest in mind, because they don't. They don't. It's all type of demonic and bro, if God told us this is a fallen world, why would the leaders of that fallen world want our best interest? And it's crazy because there's always, bro, if you read the Bible, you look at the Bible, it's always God versus government, bro. He always anoints somebody to fight the government. He always anoints people to fight the government because the government wants to replace God. They want that power and control that God has. Why would it be different today? Why would it be different today? Why would that be different? Why wouldn't they be doing these things? Because they've been doing them forever, throughout human history. Why would it be different? It's not. It's going on today. It's going on in this country, in other countries. And they're all competing to be the leader of a one world government.
Like one night, we're at Palm Springs. I'm working on this book. That's a fiction book that's coming out about a secret society. And we spent 6 hours researching nuclear bombs and nuclear weapons for 6 hours. By the end of it, I'm like, if somebody's following what we're searching right now on Google, they're going to be worried that this guy from Iran is up to something. We're just working on a fiction book. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, these guys are probably thinking some
Briefcase nuke. Briefcase nuke.
Go identify who this guy is at this country club that's working on this book. What's he doing? But okay, that part, fully believable. I get that part. The part about putting thoughts and entering my mind and saying, what's he thinking about right now? He's about to make a decision. Should he do this? Should he not do? He's about to make that. Should he give it to? Should he file bankruptcy? Should he get a divorce? Should he do something? Should he do something? All these thoughts that they can get into someone's mind to say, should you do this? And then put that thought. I don't know about that one. That's a very interesting one. I do believe
Consider it a weapon that your foe has. Hypothetically.
Who's my foe?
Someone who's against your best interest. We'll just keep it in vague terms.
Consider it as in be paranoid that they may have a weapon like that, or it's a factual, they have it, whether you like it or not. Those are two different things.
I don't see the reason to add the term paranoia in this hypothetical. It would be, how about just lack of naivete?
On my end.
Absolutely.
So, but there's a difference between, like, for example, why do atheists have a hard time believing in God? Because some of them are wired to say, I have to see it to believe it. You believe in God? You believe in Jesus? Show it to me. I want to go have sushi with Jesus. Okay? It's like, no, this
I am one of those people, very skeptical. Very skeptical.
is part of faith. You have to believe in something you have not yet seen. But you're saying faith is not required for this. This exists, is what you're saying.
All of the supporting components for this technology are already patented, already existed, and for the most part, the higher end aspects are also patented and exist. It's just a matter of me stating that the South Pole Station is operating under false pretenses here. That is the harder thing to prove. The technology is irreferenceable.
Who owns it? Who owns the patent?
I wouldn't know.
But you know there's a patent, though.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know who owns it.
Don't recall reading that line.
Would it be a private? Would it be a government? Is it a private entity like a Raytheon, Northrop Grumman?
If I do remember correctly, there were 3 very important patents that came out from the United States Navy. And the person that they gave credit to, it was a fake name. It was Salvatore Pais. Look that one up. 3 patents from the United States Navy brought to us that we were told by...
Like a pseudonym?
Salvatore Pais. Yeah, if you translate it in Spanish, it just comes out to savior of the country.
If you translate Salvatore Pais, it comes to savior of the country.
Savior of the country. So you ask me who holds the patents. Does it really matter? Is that really the more important question? Or is it more important to understand that they exist? Is it more important to, instead of calling someone paranoid, to actually brood for a moment on the very real possibility that this is what's going on?
Can you go back to Salvatore Pais to see who he is? Just go back to that real quick. So this is what? It's an American, zoom in a little bit so I can read it. It's an American aerospace engineer and inventor currently working on the United States Space Force. He worked formerly for Naval Air Station. His patent application for the U.S. Navy attracted attention for the potential energy producing applications, but also doubt about their feasibility and speculation that there may be scams, pseudoscience, or disinformation intended to mislead the United States adversaries.
This is reality.
And you're a plumber?
Absolutely.
It's very hard to believe that.
Why is that? You have prejudices against plumbers?
No, I'd love to see you fix one of our plumbers. We got some issues right now.
I can fix every one of them.
You think so?
I know so.
As a plumber who all of a sudden is interested in things like this, I got to tell you, man, it's very weird.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe he got exposed to it. Maybe he wasn't trying to get interested in it, and it just fell into his lap, fell into his eyesight, and he was forced to do research. Just something to think about.
It's very weird for a plumber to go from that background to all of a sudden having information on things like this. How do you make your money now? Are you still plumbing right now? Is that
I
still
do maintenance work in Alaska.
you do maintenance work in Alaska right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why go from where you were at, Long Island, to Alaska? Is there anything linked to this or not at all? It's just that's where you chose to move to.
Cold weather working skills. Once I was all done at the South Pole Station, the economy had not recovered in New York. I started inquiring to the crew members about me. Where can I go with my cold weather skills? They directed me to the North Slope of Alaska.
You ever seen the movie The Usual Suspects?
A long time ago.
Do you know Kaiser Sose?
I remember the statement,
Very interesting guy.
but I don't remember the whole situation.
You give me vibes of three people. Okay, so one is Kaiser Sose, which is kind of like he's so good at telling all the stories and the fact, and it all lines up where you're kind of like, holy shit, this is kind of going on. The other one is Johnny Russo. I can listen to Johnny Russo for hours. This guy was in the movie Godfather. Used to date some real legit people. But the stories he told me one time, we had a 3-hour meeting in New York at his house. He told me he had lunch with Saddam Hussein, and he had, this with the Shah, and he went and met with, Pablo Escobar and is going to kill him. Eventually, Pablo liked him from the movie Godfather, said, stick around, let's have drinks. He told me he hooked up with Marilyn Monroe at 16 years old. I mean, the amount of stories he told me, I said, listen, Johnny, if 10% of the stories you're telling me is true, you've lived a freaking ridiculous life. And then the other one is also like an element of, who you represent, what you're doing, what your background is. Well, a little bit of skepticism of the psyop where you're like, hey, what if you're trying to distract? But that one is very small because you've only done one show and you're not that public. And it's not
I've actually done a lot of shows.
How many shows have you done? Who have you been on?
I've lost count of people that I've interviewed with, actually. A lot of them are on my website. A lot of them are on my
Give me the big
page.
names. Who have you been with?
I don't think they were big names.
Sean is a big name.
Sean is a big name. I would say Sean is the biggest guy.
Who's the
We'll put
second
it that
biggest
way.
guy?
National Press Club. I went to Washington, D.C.
interesting.
As far as public speaking.
Who's the most credible source that wrote about you or talked about you? Most credible source.
Probably Sean Ryan.
How about in mainstream media?
Oh, nobody.
Why not?
Why would they? Why would they bring that to light? And if they do bring it to light, they're going to slander it. They're going to make people think he's crazy, like they do with everybody else who talks about these things. Like Alex Jones. Why would they bring it to light? They're gonna block you and ban you from the internet. They're gonna look up things that you did 10 years ago and try to lock you up to discredit you like they've been doing forever. They're going to try to call people to see if they can get any dirt on you. They're going to, why would they? They want to keep you in your bubble, bro. Like they want to keep him in his bubble. So it's not surprising that a lot of people don't know about him because these algorithms, these things like that, they suppress people like him. They suppress the truth and they promote people twerking. They promote demonic music. They promote Satanism, self-worship. They promote distractions. They promote funny TikToks. They promote BS, man. They promote things that are bad for us, for our soul. And they suppress people like him, people like me, people who are speaking the truth. Because it's not good for their business, their company, the government. It's not good for the manipulation and the control that they want to have over us. We're competing with mainstream media. We're competing with the news. When you hear this and you hear that, you hear two different things. They don't want you to hear this. They don't want you to hear him. They don't want you to hear these people. They want you to hear them. Repetition over and over again to make you believe lies. This is the tactic of the enemy. This is the tactic of Satan. I hope I'm speaking loud enough for you to hear me, but I'm usually a very quiet speaker. So, yeah. Whew.
Because they're doing everything they can to prevent the truth from getting out to the people.
National Geographic has done stuff about the Havana, syndrome, or
I'd be happy to speak with them. Anything that I've ever tried to do that was mainstream became edited. I was in season 2, episode 9 of the Alaska Triangle, where the producers of the show, I believe it was Wild Dreams Film Production out of England, I think, sent me to Ketchikan, Alaska. The pretense was that they wanted me to investigate reports of unidentified submerged objects. I went out there with the boat captain, the camera crew, myself. We went out.
It's a lot of pretenses, bro. A lot of pretenses.
Started looking for stuff. Wasn't having any luck. Eventually, had all the luck in the world. Found exactly what they sent me out to look for. We recorded everything. Everybody was all cheers and congratulations. Mission accomplished. It's funny that they edited all of that out from the show, though. So what I'm learning is that there are folks that want to talk to me that are looking to assist me in my endeavors, and they're few and far between. For the most part, people try to put me on mic to discount what I'm saying,
Of course.
which I find highly interesting, because I have no ill motive. I'm not making a nickel off of this, and the only thing I've said is that I'm doing this for we the people of this planet, because we deserve better, and so do our children.
And trust me, that's the part where you gain a lot of credibility with me, because you didn't ask for nothing. And it's not like we can't talk about this, and that's off topic, and that's this. You've not said nothing. You're
Talk
just
about
like,
anything you want.
no, you said anything. Again, I'm giving you credit, the fact that your approach makes me sit there and say, and then the only thing that you said, Joe Biden said what he said. Maybe Joe Biden said it in his thought and you read his mind. Maybe that's what you did. I think that's probably
You know why that's not true?
Why?
Joe Biden has no thoughts. Gotcha.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So what's your biggest, are you
If you don't know, I could care less about politics.
optimistic, nervous? Are you, how are you feeling about the future if all these things are happening? Where do you stand?
I don't feel good about it in the slightest. Which
Really?
is why I do what I do. I thought that years ago, when I first dumped this information on the world, I thought that was going to be the end of my obligation. I thought that somebody would take this information, run it up the flagpole for everybody to see. I thought everybody would learn, and we would rectify the problem. I was never so wrong in my entire life.
No, when I first started my YouTube channel in 2018, right, when I was first coming into this truth, actually it was 2019, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, bro, I'm finna get the truth out. People are going to hear this, and it's going to resonate with them, and it's going to have a change on their lives and society as a whole, bro. I'm thinking, bro, people looked at that video and went back to smoking and doing all that, bro. This Matrix has people in a stronghold, bro. We need Jesus. Jesus is the only thing that's going to save this world. Like, God has anointed soldiers and warriors to push back against Satan's agenda. But Jesus is the only thing that's going to completely stop them. To be honest.
The resistance that I have to sharing this information is disgusting. There are a lot of people in the disclosure community that are presenting themselves as operating for the behalf of the people.
Of course.
They're liars. I've met these people face to face. I've gone and spoken at conventions. I've been thrown off the tour, so to say, because I would not take my information and screw with it to support other people's BS. As an example, I went and spoke in Las Vegas a few years ago publicly to present this information. It was the first time that I spoke publicly at an event like that. The producer of the event goes by the name of Saeed Farman, an Iranian.
Got to be careful with those guys, but go ahead.
Fair enough. So Saeed brought me into the situation along with his other co-producer, a man who goes by the name of Eric the Healer Datamer. I attended the event. I disseminated my information, and I was told afterwards by these two people that I now had to figure out a way to take my information and make it support the flat earth psyop, or I'm out. I proceeded to tell them both cleanly and clearly to go fuck themselves, that I would have nothing to do with such bullshit. And then from that point forwards, it became very challenging to garner another event. There are folks like Linda Moulton Howe, who's big in the Antarctica topic. I spoke to her like a pre-interview, basically. She didn't want to hear anything that I had to say because she was very condescending about the fact that I was a plumber. And that because she couldn't understand how that would give me access to information, she was pretty much done with the conversation.
When you were in Antarctica,
People
did you ever
who
go
only
explore?
see with their eyes. People who are very dismissive, very carnal and worldly minded, who are very who just close their mind to any truth. If you don't fit in a certain box, then you're not worth listening to. There's a lot of those people out there. And ain't nothing you can do about it. They're gonna always be here.
Or when you're hearing about all this stuff, did you ever go explore and see what's out there, like the red blood, whatever, seed that they have? Or did you go look around? Did you have ample time to go explore yourself?
I pretty much looked at everything that I could, but now appreciate, I was literally at the South Pole Station, 9,300 feet of elevation, 0% humidity, ruthlessly cold, painful temperatures. There's nothing there, not at that location.
No high-end restaurants, no Chipotle, no In-N-Out.
Nothing. I mean, I checked every inch of every ice tunnel that I could have access to. On an occasion, I commandeered a snow machine when I shouldn't have. And a coworker and I drove that machine until the South Pole Station proper was a teeny little dot on the horizon. Just because I wanted to.
Did you see anything? Did you find anything?
I saw what I think it was Buzz Aldrin's quote, magnificent desolation. Like they say of the moon, there's probably more to observe on the surface of the moon than there is at the South Pole. There's nothing there.
What'd you eat, by the way? I just out of
Oh,
curiosity.
food? My hat goes off to the culinary crew at the South Pole Station. They had some of the worst ingredients in the world to work with, and I can't complain about any meal that someone makes for me for free and then does the dishes as well.
Respect.
I was very content with the food there. The ingredients that were down in the ice tunnels were atrocious. As far as I was concerned, there was some dump somewhere where they were about to throw out a bunch of waste food, and the Raytheon purchasing agent would say, "Hold on, don't throw that in the dumpster. I'll give you $1."
Yeah, I can only imagine that. And by the way, didn't John Kerry go there in 2016? And
I believe you're
Prince
correct.
Edward went there. A bunch of different people have gone there to just kind of explore.
There's an absurd amount of dignitaries and very important people on the planet that go to these facilities, and it strikes me as extremely peculiar. These folks are normally in very cush environments with a lot of protections. Simply going to the South Pole Station puts one in harm's way that can't be removed. If you lose a plane, if you lose anything in that environment, you're gone. That's it. There is no rescue. They've never rescued anyone.
How bad was turbulence when you were landing or taking off? Was it terrible or no?
It wasn't that bad.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad. It's more of a random mechanical failure that would typically be the issue.
Just a random mechanical failure, like
that would
60
ruin
people disappeared.
That would ruin someone like John Kerry. So we have these people on pedestals, and they operate from these privileged positions. So it's very interesting to me to have them put in such harm's way. They normally do a lot to protect these folks.
Last but not least, HARP, the High Frequency Active Oral Research Program, right? This is something at the University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Yep.
How much credibility is it with what these guys can do with HARP, manipulating weather? I know we talked about it earlier, right, with Sandy, but how much credibility is there behind that?
Tons. Again, it's a very non-transparent program.
Non-transparent program.
Absolutely. Because people can look up what's possible to be done with HARP, even though they don't pretend to be doing it. I actually worked alongside a gentleman who went to the HARP facility in Gakona, Alaska, which I've been to the gates of the facility twice. This gentleman at one point was employed to work on the generators at that facility. I have not spoken to him in depth on this one. I just asked him to come speak to me when he's in town. He agreed to. But this gentleman assured me, knowing the angle that I come from on these things, he said, you're going to flip out when I tell you how much power they're putting into the atmosphere.
I wonder who said this in the past. There's been multiple people, and when they say it, they get banned from the internet, and they get called conspiracy theorists. The power to control the weather. Impossible. You can't do that. No. And even if we had that power, we wouldn't use it. No, we wouldn't do that.
How much?
We didn't get to that part of the conversation.
Got it.
But he was the actual generator technician.
Interesting. Do they have enough power? Let's just say, hypothetically, let's say my name is Al Gore, and my name is Kerry. My name is Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton, or Obama, McConnell, Bush, whatever you want to call me. I'm that powerful of a name. And I'd like to make an argument for why climate change is really happening, to bring up the fear of people around the world. Can I suddenly create a bunch of hurricanes and catastrophic weather storms, events around the world to gain more credibility?
Absolutely.
Impossible.
How would I do that? I would use that.
Utilizing the technologies that exist and making a phone call to whatever faction is holding the trigger at the time.
Now, let's just say...
This is harmful information. This needs to be censored, because it will have people thinking that the government has malicious things that they want to do, and their intentions are always good. This is bad. This needs to be suppressed. I'm concerned. Y'all. Ban them.
I know that you have that technology, but I'm your enemy, okay? Or I'm an ally, and you keep doing that, and it affects my country. How come no one's called anybody out?
Politics at a higher level?
Politics at a higher level is more loyal?
Well, you're just saying, how come? And I would just say that there's different levels of the game being played.
Right in front of our face, different levels of the game are being played. That is so big. Bro, you think they're telling you the news. They're actually speaking on something, actually communicating with people, with different individuals, with different countries. Tomorrow might be a very windy day. We'll see. This and that and the third. It's very evil. It's very demonic. It's a lot of pretenses. There's a lot of politics at a much higher level than meets the eye. There's a lot of competing factions of different secret organizations that are communicating with each other in plain sight. You think you're watching the news. You're watching a prediction about what's going to happen to them if they don't do X, Y, Z. You're watching them say, scare tactics to certain people in mental health facilities, in jails, in different countries and different things like that. Communicate with them, reading their thoughts and responding to their thoughts. Oh no, that's impossible. That's no, not on Earth. That's impossible. Ban me from the internet because what I'm saying is dangerous. Oh my goodness. Well, it's the truth. Well, it's reality. Well, they suppress it. Well, this been going on for a long time. This ain't new. Lo siento. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm sorry.
You know, there are things that happen right before our face every day that just go unnoticed because no one's paying attention to the fact that this does exist. I mean, I'm sure you remember the event on 9/11 in New York. You know what the weather report was the day before? Did you know there was a massive hurricane bearing down on Manhattan for days before the 9/11 event? Do you know where that hurricane was on 9/11? Parked in the ocean. It stopped all forward progress. Do you remember what the weather was like on 9/11? Crystal clear, not a cloud in the sky.
Peculiar.
Then the 9/11 event occurred, and then look into the weather of what happened to the hurricane. It turned around. If that's not weather manipulation that's observable, that happened years ago, I would just say that people aren't paying enough attention. But these technologies exist. They're being utilized right before everybody's eyes.
That's impossible.
Hurricane was about to hit, then it fully stops in the middle of the ocean.
A few years ago here in Florida, you guys had one of these circumstances where the hurricane stopped all forward progress and hung out for a few days.
What event was around that?
I don't recall specifically, but there was within a few years. I remember watching the news, and you guys here in Florida had one of these circumstances where the hurricane just decided to park and hang out for substantial.
It's almost like it was deciding, should we go through with this? Or giving someone a chance to make a decision. If you don't do this, X, Y, and Z, then this is coming. It's almost like it's a scare tactic. It's almost like it's politics at a higher level. Interesting.
Period of time. This is a new activity. This is not something hurricanes have been doing.
So could this be where we have the technology to even prevent from hurricanes hitting because we know how to park them?
For sure. Yeah, all of the above. Yep. Think of it as it's like having a Nintendo controller for the weather.
Well, then that's actually a good technology, similar to a nuclear bomb, because a nuclear bomb. I don't know if you've seen Oppenheimer or not. I don't know if you went through and watched it. Okay, you know, these guys accidentally developed one of the most powerful weapons in the world, but it's only been used how many times? And a lot of people have access. Not a lot of people, but many countries, more than a handful, have access to it. And they can single-handedly start World War III.
Yes, they
There
can.
have been nuclear detonations going off
Yes,
almost.
they can. Just because they haven't used it doesn't mean they're not going to. Doesn't mean an accident can't happen. So I don't think that's a good argument at all.
Nonstop since the
Because
first bomb that
it has
went
the
off.
power to destroy the whole planet, don't it? It has the power to do some major damage. Nah, bro.
Now, were they acts of war? No.
Testing.
Call it whatever you want to call it. We've almost had non-stop nuclear explosions since then. And do people ask why on that?
When's your birthday?
June
June what?
18th.
June 18th. Interesting. June 18th. This has been very interesting, I got to tell you. You know, I feel like I played poker for the last hour and 15 minutes and trying to see what you have with your hand. Whether it's a 210, pocket aces, pocket jacks. The audience obviously can make a decision for themselves, but one too many interesting stories by a legendary plumber. Okay? I will forever say I met one of the smartest plumbers and the most interesting plumbers in the world. And we had him on the podcast. This was great.
I would say my hand was a royal flush then.
Fair enough. Then I got to go all in to see what you have. That's what I got to do. So I want to see the chips. Appreciate you for coming out. Thank you so much.
Patrick.
Thank you for this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So be very skeptical. I'm not telling you to believe everything that this man said. Research on your own. Find out who he is. Dig deep. Meditate on it. And search for the truth. I'm not telling you to believe everything that this man said. I'm telling you to have a skeptical mind and think, maybe that's possible. Maybe I've been lied to. I don't know the truth. I don't know really what's going on. So, do your own research. Search within. Ask God, ask the Holy Spirit to reveal these things to you, because that is the only way. That is the Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the truth to you. You can do research without a computer. You can do research sitting here meditating, asking, you shall receive. It is facts. It is facts. And I would say, oh shoot. Well, at 116. And I would say God is the only way out. God is the only way through this, bro. We have to give our lives to the Lord, because we are in the middle of a war. We are in the middle of the fight. And we're surrounded on all sides. And God is the only way that we will survive. Trying to make it out on your own, you don't have enough strength, you don't have enough knowledge, and you don't have enough power. God is the only way we're going to make it through this. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. But it's important that we be aware of what's going on. We be aware of the enemy's tactics. The Bible tells us to be aware of what the enemy does, the enemy's plans, what they're doing. So what I am doing is exposing the kingdom of darkness so you can see it. So you ain't have no excuses when you talk to God. No excuse, like, bro, like he showed you. You just didn't apply it. You just didn't really search for the truth. But the knowledge was right in your face. Be very careful of the thoughts you're thinking. Your mind is a battleground. Your mind is a battleground. Every thought is not yours. Every impulse to do something is not natural. It's not just a human addiction. It's not just your fallen nature. Some of it, and I would say in America, a lot of it are demonic spirits trying to get their, trying to get their pleasure field from your vessel. A lot of spirits of lust, they want to watch pornography. Spirits of gluttony, of greed, they want to eat through your vessel. So they give you impulses. Spirits of, spirits of Jezebel, they want to control and manipulate people so they can get that satisfaction that they need. Bro, this ain't a game. This ain't me just talking. Do your own research. Search within. Look for the truth. Treat your mind as a battleground, because it is. This ain't for play. This ain't fake. This ain't whatever. But hey, I'm glad y'all listened. I'm glad y'all stayed. Bro, a lot of us gonna have to make sacrifices, bro. A lot of us are gonna have to stop doing things that, secular music, for example. A lot of us gonna have to put down secular music. A lot of people listening, gonna have to stop secular entertainment, sports, addicted to these, like the NFL, NBA, all these different things that are just distracting us from the Lord, that don't benefit us whatsoever. They don't pay us. They're not really helping us. They're just distracting us. Especially football on Sunday. You don't want to go to church because you want to watch the game. I believe there's a reason the most popular sport in America happens on a Sunday. I don't think that's by accident. In a sport that men watch, the leaders, the spiritual leaders of the family, it happens on Sunday. That's no accident. That is a plan. That is structured by the enemy. This is not by accident. This is warfare. This is warfare. If you don't get anything else from this video, get this. You are fighting a battle. You are fighting a war. And you must be 10 toes down. You must be willing to fight to the end. You must be willing to make sacrifices, to put down the things of this world. Stop hanging around with those friends. You might need to be lonely. You might need to be isolated, bro. You might need to. Yeah, it's gonna suck for a minute, but God love is more, it feels better than all of that. God's love is more pure than anything in this world. It's unwavering. So make those sacrifices. Put down the things that you're going to have to put down, like pornography, like cursing, like food, gambling, like addiction to TV, like idolizing your job over God, especially when you're making enough money for food and clothes and to survive. You don't need all that extra. The Bible tells us that if you love money, you're in trouble. If you love money, you're going to end up you're going to get caught in your lust. You're going to get caught in buying stuff with that money that you don't need, or doing something stupid to get that money that you don't need. You're going to get caught in that. And as believers, I believe, honestly, once you get over a certain amount, once you're able to support yourself, you should give all that money, the rest of it, away. Whatever that amount is for you. I get over this, I'm giving the rest of it away, so you don't get caught in your lust for wealth, because that's a human lust of greed that all of us have to a certain extent. And we have to chop off our right hand if it causes us to sin. And we have to do whatever we have to do not to love money, not to get caught up in lust, not to get caught up in different people. Bro, and it can get awkward and weird at times. Some women, I won't look in the eyes because I know I'm going to start lusting. So I'm a little bit awkward around you. If they're like, hey, they're trying to get my attention, like I had a conversation with you, but I'm looking at something else. I'm like, yeah. Because I would rather not look at you and not have those thoughts than to have those thoughts and commit adultery, sinning in my heart, lusting after a woman in my heart. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do whatever I can do not to do that. So it's going to take us being willing to risk looking foolish, looking stupid for men. Men's judgment can't mean more to us than God's love. Men's judgment cannot mean more to us than God's love. we can't control how people perceive us anyhow. They're going to perceive us how they perceive us. It's written in stone. It's out of our control. We must do God's will because God's love is stronger than anything on this earth. Stronger than the fulfillment we get from that drink, than the fulfillment we get from that video, than the fulfillment we get from watching that football game, from watching that basketball game, than the fulfillment we get from watching that movie. When are we going to wake up and say enough is enough? Enough is enough. I'm done giving my life to things of this world, to pleasure, to entertainment. I'm done giving my life to these. I'm done giving my life to self-worship, to Satan. I'm done giving my life for selfish ambitions, for the career that I want. Is that the career that God wants you to have? Is that what he wants you to do? Are you doing it because it gets you more money? What are you doing it for? Analyze yourself. Think about these things. And perhaps you'll see that you're not doing what you are meant to be doing. Perhaps you see that that's why you're not happy. You have this money, you have this boyfriend, girlfriend, but you're still not happy. There's still something inside of you that's missing. Perhaps it's because you're not doing what God is telling you to do. You're not fulfilling his will. Wake up and take it day by day, step by step, and do his will. Find people who will help you on your journey, help you on your walk, keep you accountable. If you hang around with people and they are content with you sinning, they are content with you drinking, smoking, doing all these things, they're content with you backsliding, you hang around with the wrong people. You need to hang around with people who will call you out. Like, hey, bro, what you doing? That's not cool. What about this? You said this. You said you was going to quit this. You said you was going to quit that. You said you was going to start that diet. You said this, you was going to start reading the word, bro. Did you pray today, dog? You said you was going to. We need to start hanging around with people who will hold us accountable and not people who are content in us sinning. The closer association we have with the world, the easier it will be to backslide in it. The closer association we have with the world, the easier it will be to backslide in it. If we have worldly friends, when times get hard, it's going to be very easy to fall back to those friends to smoke, to drink, to go to the club, to do this and that. If we have worldly habits, like just video games, if we're addicted to video games, it's going to be very hard to not do that when we backslide, when times get tough, when we're depressed. Because we have a close association with the things of this world. Cut that tie. Put separation between it. And I believe that it will be much harder to go back to Satan's kingdom. Much harder to sin. Bro, God loves you. Jesus loves you. And I don't care what anybody told you. I don't care about the church hurt that you had as a child. I don't care about the rebellious spirit that is inside of you that don't want to believe in Christianity because it's too official for you, quote unquote. I don't care about none of that. God loves you. Jesus loves you. And I pray that over time, he will reveal that to you. He will show you his love. He will show you his love like he did with me. He will show you the love that he has for you. And I pray that you find him. I pray that you seek. If you don't seek, you don't find. If you don't have that faith, you won't find. The currency on earth is money. The currency to God is faith. God works on faith, and you might be saying that don't make sense to me. It don't matter. You didn't create the stars, the sun, the moon, none of that. Nobody cares what you think. You are just here. You didn't have a say on the color of the grass. He didn't ask you. So you must obey his laws. And that's just what it is. But the currency on earth is money. The currency in heaven is faith. We must have faith. We must believe it before we see it for things to change. We must believe it before we see it. Faith is knowing that it's going to happen because God told you. Because God told you either through your spirit or through his word. He told you that this is going to happen. And we must have that faith, that childlike faith. Like a child believes in the tooth bunny, the tooth fairy, and the Easter bunny, and all of that. Just like they believe, they don't have any evidence for it. Just like they don't have evidence for that and they believe it, we need to have that same evidence for God if he hasn't shown himself to you. Jesus said, better you believe because you see. Better is he who hasn't seen yet believes. So better is he who hasn't seen yet believes. We need to have that faith, that childlike faith, and we will receive blessings. If you praying and you thinking that God's not hearing you, that's a lie. That's a lie from Satan. God is reminding me of prayers I made years ago. As a child, when I didn't think he was real. When I thought I was praying to myself. I was listening. I heard you. Yeah, when you cried, when you went through, I was there. I seen it. When you were talking to me, you didn't think I was listening. I was right there. I was with you, man. You think God's not hearing you? That's a lie from the devil. That's a lie from the enemy. So anyway, God loves you, bro. And if you watch this far, you a real one. Cause where are we at? I don't know how long this video. This video is dumb long, bro. I don't know how long this video is. If you watching, you a real one. But hey, y'all take care. Y'all have a good day. I'm gone.